Hello and welcome everybody to Sloppy Saturdays. We've got Flintstone rocking the Brother Captain. It's so funny. I probably went 14 months without seeing any Brother Captain on my channel, and now in the period of a month we're going to have him more than 3 times. Pretty glorious, eh? But he's going to be fighting against the Tech Marine, which actually, to be honest, I kind of feel like is a really good matchup for the Brother Captain because, well, you can just bully the Tech Marine with melee, right? BC onto the Tech Marine, Strike Squad onto the Tactical Marines, GG! And then IST beat Scouts. Like, as far as the opening engagements go, this really couldn't get much more favourable. Strike Squad can kill everything that Slime has. IST beats Scouts, Strike Squad beat Tax, BC beats Tech Marine. Now there are a couple of garrisons which could complicate things slightly. Another problem is that the BC is eating loads of damage right now, and he's been idled. Okay, so the BC was just forced off. So there you go, straight away we've got misplays. So Slime is doing well, keeping his Tax and his Tech Marine together, as one should do. I would suggest you keep your Strike Squad and your BC together as well in this matchup, to prevent things like that from happening and to prevent him from being able to kite your melee units. If they're isolated and on their own, then they're going to be easier to kite, right? Double Tax is the play for Slime. Now note that due to the double tax, we're only seeing the power node coming up right now. So this tax squad, yeah, looks like they're going to force melee into the IST. Honestly, IST... Okay, I'm going to say they probably need to get out of there, just going to bleed. But it's okay. Now they don't need to be re-engaging until the strike squad have tied up the tax in melee. A little banishment wouldn't hurt here. Get the banishment, then go in green cover here, and just go in range stance and shoot the tax. Because I don't know what the play is here. Yeah, now you're going to go into cover. Okay. But yeah, versus dual tax and a Tech Marine, not a really favourable fight. This is overcommitment when the left-hand side of the map isn't even controlled by you, Flynn. Now, on the plus side, Flynn does have a lot more power. Already built all of his gens. First gen just came up for Slime. War Gear's coming out. This engagement sucks though. It really does. He just bled a Strike Squad and 2 IST. Really could do with getting a Tactical Marine model to try and make this even, but I don't think this fighting is needed. Scouts the entire time completely unopposed. IST, they just weren't contributing a lot to that, ended up being free IST. They're not contributing a lot here. They need to be going after the Scouts, who they beat quite handily 1v1. That has to be the priority. Alas, we did not see it. We did not see it. So map control looking super dominant for Slime. Would expect to see some shotguns and further upgrades onto the Scouts once he's aware of the interceptors. But yeah, this map control is horrendous. I just think the engagements that Flynn was taking here, not really ideal engagements, and are kind of setting up Slime to be in a great position. Slime should not be able to defend his farm, even on this map, which, to be fair, very defensible gen farm on this map. But even on this map, he shouldn't be able to get away with defending against Grey Knight's Brother Captain with just these 3 units here. That's ridiculous. It really is. And I'm seeing a lot of instances wherein Flynn will be capping the VP, or capping any point under fire, and then sort of bailing out halfway through. That whole thing with the BC down here I didn't like. Honestly, it'd have been better to just not cap the natural VP at the start of the game and put the pressure on the Tech Marine, but then you would have noticed that the attacks were there and they'd be shooting you while the Tech Marine kites. That's why you needed the strike squad around as well. And obviously you don't know where your opponent is sending their troops, but if your BC and strike squad are together, then you know that nothing in the other game from the Tech Marine is going to beat them. So it's, you send that down the side to attack their gen farm and go heavier. Or you send it down your side if you're going for a fast tech to defend your farm. Would have been really effective in this instance, where we see only a 1 IST build and lots of generators at the start. Now, Flynn, I noticed, does this a lot. I've seen him do this in another replay, actually. The Brother Captain then, I have no idea why the Brother Captain was chasing the Tech Marine when the Tactical Marines were shooting the Interceptors and ended up killing a model. The Brother Captain doesn't do a lot of damage, but he's really, really durable. So he just needs to be flung into the enemy ranged units to remove all of their DPS by tying them up in melee. He should have been tying up that Tactical Marine squad the whole time, certainly not running back towards his own base in order to try and kill a Tech Marine. I mean, there was no opportunity for a kill there. But the BC anyway, like I say, doesn't do a lot of damage, so, you know, relying on a BC to try and wipe a Tech Marine, not ideal. Fast Rhino is going to be the play for Flynn. Makes sense, because he basically did a fast tech. I mean, yes, he got these Interceptors, which do cost, what is it, 45 power, 50 power? But he got his gens up way earlier than Slime, because Slime had to invest 450 requisition into these attacks. So it was a good fast tech, and it could prove relatively effective if we see a Razorback coming out here with a heavy bolter. But we'll see. It's always tricky against Space Marines. You know, we've already got some Stern Guard coming in. You can see a missile launcher. You can see a melter gun on the Tech Marine. That was sloppy there, losing the Interceptor, quite unnecessary. As soon as that high-powered shot went down and suppressed them, should have been out of there. IST should win this fight in melee quite easily because of the chainsword that the Sergeant has. But yes, of course, with the Tactical Marines and the Tech Marine coming along, they need to get the hell out of there. Let's have a look at the Rhino. Okay, so the Rhino has been turned into a Razorback, meaning it's now got its heavy bolter in addition to the pintle-mounted storm bolter, and we can see a little bit of a graphical bug there. There's some strike squads inside and their halberds are sticking out. So this could be a nice timing push onto the gen farm. Though the BC needs to support the Rhino, because you know that as Space Marines they can get a lot of ranged AV. You know, we could be seeing the Melter Gun come up, we've already got Stern Guard with those Vengeance rounds, and you could see missile launch attacks, and we do see missile launch attacks. There's no could here, we do see missile launch attacks. Now this is what we need to be doing. You see, BC tying up the Tech Marine, Strike Squad tying up the Stern Guard, and let's push onwards. Let's get the IST over though to repair this thing, because it's getting a little bit dubious right now. Okay, Interceptors are here, that's it, they can tie it up, and that's an instant retreat. Unfortunately though, there is a missed micro and the Strike Squad are now in the base. So that was really unfortunate, because that Strike Squad could have been bashing this entire time, or just taking the VP and easing some of this pressure. Because right now for Flynn, there is a lot of VP pressure, especially when you're fighting Space Marines with their scouts. I mean, it's nearly as bad as NIDS with their speed or Eldar with their webway gates. You do not want to be nearly 200 VPs behind your opponent. So he needs to get on with that, and he is. It is now a 2-to-1 cap in his favour. It's going to be a 2-to-0 cap. I mean, at this rate, Slime is taking so long to come back out, it's probably going to be a 3-to-0 cap. Scouts going down the far side. Going to prioritise requisition over VPs, it would appear. And we see the Nemesis Force Halberd. Okay, I mean, I don't think that's a terrible idea at all. You know, basically the BC wasn't doing any damage before. This thing is going to do a hell of a lot of damage. And do you need the warding staff for the damage resist and knockback immunity? Not really. Damage resist never hurts, right? But the knockback immunity would be kind of pointless right now. So It's a good weapon. I like this choice. It's just a shame. It's a shame he doesn't have a tanky melee hero armor. If only Aegis was better. Like this, oh, Aegis, I think is the pronunciation. The Aegis armor would be perfect in this situation where there is no melee, because that's one of the weaknesses of the BC, ironically, especially when he doesn't have his weapon upgrades. He's slow and he just gets ripped to pieces by melee, but he's really tanky and he's got a good charge range with his We Are the Hammer ability. So tying up the stern guard, these missile attacks, etc. That's basically where the Brother Captain shines. So in order to sort of double down on that, you'd get the Aegis armor. But it's just not very good. And the fact that we don't see Flynn getting it right now is kind of a testament to that, honestly. Though honestly, it might still be good. I'm not sure. I can't remember if it gives you any passive HP regen. It really should, because of the power creep with HP regen armors in this game. If it doesn't, it would be rather terrible. It's such a weaker shield that it gives because of the fact that the Brother Captain has so many ways that he can regain his energy for the shield. You know, we're talking the Sanctify Global, we're talking about the Purify ability on the Strike Squads to gift energy, and it, for that reason, it only has 3.5 HP per second, I think. HP per second, no, 3.5 HP per energy. Might even be worse than that. Anyway, there's my balanced propaganda. Let's get back to the game. So Slime went with a Dreadnought and he's keeping it in melee, which is fair enough, because obviously these interceptors are a problem right now, as is his Brother Captain with a Force Halberd. So certainly the Dreadnought will deter them. Now this is the issue. Now we've got Mind Blades on the interceptors, they're going to quite handily deal with those Tactical Space Marines, and that's your AV off the field. Now this happens where the Rhino just sort of runs around and puts in some crazy work. So the Dreadnought's meant to deal with that. Oh, missed micro, forgot about his Brother Captain. Okay, he just got out of there in time. But that Dreadnought requires a response from Flynn, and apparently that response is going to be the Vindicator Assassin. Interceptors need to be super careful here due to the Dreadnought being in retreat. I would be giving them energy with the Strike Squad and teleporting away. But he hasn't done this, he's run them in. And now he's going to take a load of bleed unnecessarily. Wow, so lucky to only lose one model there, that's crazy. But yeah, just something to think about, Flynn. Ooh, Vindicator's getting super low. Oh no, the Vindicator just got focused down. And the Strike Squad are getting bled. I mean, this was just a really awkward engagement. The Vindicator needed to be at the bottom side away from all this pew-pew. And, you know, the BC needed to be here ages ago, tie up the Tech Marine. I mean, there's no real reason why Flynn couldn't have won that engagement in terms of, like, his composition. His composition can deal with Slime's composition perfectly fine. Or at least it could when he had a Vindicator. Now it's not very good. So, he didn't like the Vindicator tech. He's going to try a Purgation Squad this time, presumably with a Conversion Beamer. But the problem is that by doing that, he is now staying in Tier 2, whereas Slime has took very few losses here. He's lost a model here, he's lost a model there, but he's had no squad wipes, and his only dedicated Tier 2 purchase was the Dreadnought. Thus we see, Slime is going Tier 3. And getting Terminators could be a serious problem here for Flynn. Shit, even a Venerable Dreadnought could be a problem. More upgrades coming for the Tech Marine. Does have the Signum armor, which he's now cast on the Rhino, so that's going to be taking even more damage from ranged attacks. Let's see if he's going to counter that with the smoke. No, doesn't need to actually, because he can just tie up the missile attacks in melee, and they are the only AV on the field other than the Dreadnought, but of course Rhino can kite the Dreadnought. Tech Marine just got wrecked. Yeah, this is what we need, just overwhelm them in melee. Conversion Beamer, yes, just out of range now, needs to move up a little bit. The problem that Flynn has is that it's his only one source of AV. Sternguard going for a bit of a bash here. And I note once again that Slime has managed to take control of the VPs whilst this was going on. You see, we've seen the stern guard down here on this side, the scouts on the east side. Slime's map control is quite dominant here. And it's interesting because I feel like there's been multiple occasions where I've said, oh Flynn, why don't you have all your units together, you just need to overwhelm them with melee. And perhaps that's because he's trying to contest this map control. But in spite of that, it seems that the map control has been favouring Slime. It looks like the choice for Slime is going to be the Predator tank. I mean, hey, I guess it could work for his playstyle right now, where he's constantly poking around the edges, utilise that speed. The beamer can only be in one position at a time, right? It can't cover all three of the sort of lanes, so to speak, of this map. Meanwhile then, the Dreadnought can just stay defending the main tactical marine blob. Yeah, beamer isolated right now in the middle, which is not a good play. I mean, even scouts aside, what's the point of having the beamer on its own? There's no point. I guess you could say it'll get some chip on a vehicle, which then will have to be repaired off, but I just don't think it's a big deal. Okay, this is going to be the end of the Rhino. There's no AV to save the Rhino from the Predator. And this is the beauty of a tank, right? It can actually catch the transports, unlike the walkers. That's why these fuckers are tier 3. So there you go, Rhino dead. Just picked up the las cannon with Slime, which was a bit of a weird choice, to be honest, because it will miss a lot against all the infantry. I did manage to kill that Grey Knight in retreat, which is pretty wild. I mean, it actually is hitting very accurately against these strike squads. Gosh. But yeah, kind of just a waste of resources, really. Not that Slime really cares about the power expenditure. He's got a... well, both players actually have crazy banks of power. Yeah, this is looking bad for Flynn. Well, he's going tier 3. And you know what the Brother Captain can get in tier 3? You can get Paladins, the single most powerful unit in the entire game. And a heavy melee unit. Wow, the las cannon just shredded the damn IST. I mean, clearly Flynn needed to retreat that a little bit sooner, but what can you do? Will the Dreadnought overextend into the conversion beamer? That is the question now that I've got on my mind. Probably not. No, it's backing off. Might get one shot and that'll be it. Yeah. We'll take another 2 shots to kill it, it appears. Well, I suppose in tier 3 the interceptors can get side cannons, which could be handy. Side cannons plus paladins. Well, I mean, it's 2 sources of AV, but the problem is it's not 2 sources of proper AV. That was really weird. The interceptors just got hit by the special attack of the Dreadnought and took crazy damage, but didn't get knocked over. Still, it was a poor play again from Flynn. He teleported into the stern guard, and then he mismicroed and let the interceptors run backwards into the Dreadnought, and I guess this is going to be capitulation. Maybe. I mean, if you get the Predator with the snare and you dropped Paladins on them, then, you know, you're going to kill the Predator fairly easily. I know, right? This thing has been crazy against the infantry, hitting super accurately. I think that was mostly unlucky. Obviously it will hit them somewhat often. Yeah, it's actually better against like Grey Knights compared to Orcs or Tyranids because the actual individual models that it hits have really high HP. So I guess this is the attempt. Paladins, and yeah, he's got easily enough red. Paladins into Beamer. I mean, I don't know what the Strike Squad are doing here. Yeah, so that should be a dead Dreadnought. Yep, dead. Can the Beamer hit the tank though? No, it's too far away. See, this is the issue. He should have prioritized the tank because the tank can kite, whereas the Dreadnought couldn't. You really needed the snare from the Beamer onto the tank. Now Signum armor goes down, we've got the las cannon doing crazy damage. It does actually show rear armor, to the beamer. The scouts right now for Slime should obviously not be repairing the Predator, but should be tying up the beamer. And actually, the Paladins, Chad Paladins, managed to take out the Predator. But unfortunately, Flynn's just going to lose this game on the matter of VPs, because he's only got 12 VPs. And this is where the VPs not favouring him early on actually really does come in, because, yeah, I mean, compositionally, Tactical Marines with a missile launcher, Stern Guard, Scouts, not going to do a whole lot to Paladins, so he wasn't actually in an awful position there. And he had the Purgation still alive in case a Vendred came down or something like that. But unfortunately, just too far behind on the VPs, really. Flynn did send this one in and ask for a bit of advice. So I hope you're writing that down, because there were a few things there. Once again, I'm noticing BC chases after things that are like going deep rather than pushing forward and tying up range squads to mitigate their DPS. Just watch that entire early game back again. I feel like for the first solid 6 or 7 minutes, nearly all the engagements that Flynn was taking were suboptimal. And the thing is, Flynn dropped his generators so much sooner than Slime. Flynn could have very easily played defensive, stayed on his half of the map, got the fast Rhino with a heavy bolter, and won, just off that. But he was pushing forward, he was trying to get gem bashes, and all he got out of it really was losing loads of the map in terms of resources, and in terms of VP, and bleeding. So it really hurt him. He'd have been better literally just securing these 3 points, mid VP, and just chilling. Even if you fucking foregone your natural wreck here, that would have done better for him. By pushing forward, he ended up losing all these 4 points and all these 3 points, and he barely even had the mid VP. Plus bleed. So that was a problem. In that final engagement, that was very risky. The play should have been Conversion Beamer onto the Predator, drop the Paladins, kill the Predator first. Now, it actually worked out for him in the end, because Slime misplayed by reversing his Predator into the Conversion Beamer and trying to repair with the Scouts when the Scouts should have been dealing with the Beamer. But you don't want to have to rely on your opponent misplaying. That shouldn't have even needed to happen in the first place, because the Predator should have just died instantly from the Conversion Beamer focusing on it. And then you can deal with the Dreadnought afterwards, because the Dreadnought can't run away from Paladins. It's not fast enough, whereas the Predator can. The engagement with the Vindicare was very sloppy, but it was mostly missed micro, obviously. He didn't notice that the Vindicare was being focus fired. However, it just felt like a bit of an all-in engagement. You didn't need to kill the Dreadnought there and then. You can chip away at it. I don't know why you took that engagement with the Rhino here. Tech Marine had nothing to tie it up. Stern Guard came out, nothing to tie it up, just the IST there. And it's not good enough. If you're going to do that all-in engagement on a Dreadnought, you want your Brother Captain there, you want your Strike Squad there, you want your Interceptors, and then it would have been an easy deal. But perhaps the Conversion Beamer would have been better in the first place rather than the Vindicare. I don't know. Both can work. Both can work. But there you go, lots of things to learn from this one. That was a little bit of Flynn versus Slime. And that concludes your sloppy Saturdays. I'm telling you, it is a fucking tongue twister, that one. But if you do enjoy this kind of content, please leave a like, leave a comment. The views have actually been doing really well recently, so we need to keep that going. Keep commenting and tell the algorithm who is boss. If you want additional exclusive content, then you know where to find it. It's coming up in a minute. Check out the Patreon. Torpid out.